Hi everyone. A new artist today, and this time it is Stevie Wonder. Actually, believe it or not, that's a name that I've heard from time to time in my life. At least a name that I knew existed, unlike Freddie Mercury way back when. So, today it's going to be Stevie Wonder's Superstition, but I have a bit to read first. Steveland Hardaway Morris, known professionally... Steveland? Who would name their child Steveland? Known professionally as Stevie Wonder, is an American singer-songwriter, musician, and record producer. He is credited as a pioneer and is influenced by musicians across a range of genres that include R&B, pop, soul, gospel, funk, and jazz. Interesting. Rock is not in that list, at least this time. A virtual one-man band, Wonder's use of synthesizers and other electronic musical instruments during the 1970s reshaped the conventions of contemporary R&B. He also helped drive such genres into the album era, crafting his LPs as cohesive and consistent, in addition to socially conscious statements with complex compositions. Blind since shortly after his birth, Wonder was a child prodigy who signed with Motown's Tamla label at the age of 11, where he was given the professional name Little Stevie Wonder. Little Stevie Wonder. And blind, basically for all of his life. I don't know exactly how he ended up blind, it doesn't tell me here, but since shortly after his birth, that means his entire life blind. Well, you know, it's interesting. Historically, becoming a musician was one thing that a blind person could do. There are some famous, legendary harpists that were blind. Now imagine playing a harp with all these strings and not being able to see where to place your fingers. It's really astonishing, even more so than, say, playing guitar where you can feel yourself along the fingerboard, or the piano where you can feel yourself along the keys, because on the harp you are simply just hanging in midair without any sense of any locators really, other than your muscle memory and your sense of spatial awareness. But so here is Stevie Wonder, a modern, relatively speaking, blind musician. Maybe that's one of the things that really propelled him that direction. If he was already a child prodigy, signed to a label at age 11? I wonder... Well, I don't know his music well enough. I don't know if I should compare him to Mozart or not, but Mozart was, of course, the quintessential classical child prodigy, at least in urban legend. Wonder is one of the best-selling music artists of all time, with sales of over 100 million records worldwide. He has won 25 Grammy Awards, the most by a male solo artist, and one Academy Award. Wonder has been inducted into the Rhythm and Blues Music Hall of Fame, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and Songwriters Hall of Fame. He is also noted for his work as an activist for political causes, including his 1980 campaign to make Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday a federal holiday in the US. In 2009, he was named a United Nations Messenger of Peace, and in 2014, he was honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So, more than just a musician, isn't he? Superstition was released in 1972, and it reached number 1 in the US Billboard Hot 100. It peaked at number 11 in the UK singles chart in February 1973, and in 2004, Rolling Stone ranked the song number 74 on its list of the 500 greatest songs of all time. It was re-ranked number 73 on its 2010 list and number 12 on its 2021 list. Moving up. At the 16th Grammy Awards, the song earned Wonder 2 Grammys, Best Rhythm and Blues Song and Best R&B Vocal Performance, Male. In 1998, the song was inducted into the Grammy Hall of Fame. Well, Superstition. You know, I'm not aware that I've really listened to much music that is classed genre-wise as rhythm and blues. Okay, I've listened to blues but R&B I think is a more specific subgenre, and I'm going to keep that in mind as I'm listening to this, because It's kind of a little different direction than I've been going, isn't it? All right, here we go.
Very superstitious.
This opening reminds me of some of the improvisations I've seen of musicians. You know, there's this one on YouTube which is a lot of fun, and I'm always sending students to watch it because it's so creative and imaginative and unexpected. Someone playing into a length of pipeline, and as the sound echoes back, they're improvising with themselves in a sort of blues style, and the way that this is echoing in here makes me feel like kind of like the same idea of you play and then your echo returns and you improvise over it to kind of duet with yourself. The way it's mixed with that, it's a lot of fun. And the drums? Well, that entry, should I say it felt very classic? It felt like, in fact, I want to go back and listen to it again before we get too far into the song. Bum, bum, bum. I almost expect it to stay right there, kind of make me wait a minute. Dum, dum, bum. And then fall into something. But instead, dum, bum, bum, da-dum. And then off we go. A little bit sooner than maybe I would have imagined otherwise, because that first drum strike has such a presence, such a, I don't know, I guess I should say charisma to it. And then it gets us rolling right along right away, doesn't it? And we're settling in. And then this guitar, same thing. When its first note enters, it enters as if it's taking over the entire room, as if some incredibly powerfully charismatic personality just walked through the door, and they don't have to be shouting, screaming, carrying on. Just as they enter, everybody's eyes are drawn towards them. That's how this guitar sounded to me when it first entered. And there's the bass in there too. I kind of like this guitar tone.
Very superstitious. Writings on the wall. Very superstitious. Letters about to fall. 13-month-old baby broke the looking glass. 7 years of bad luck. You put things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. Yeah. Ooh, very superstitious.
It is so bluesy quality. I can understand now why it's classed there.
Do all that you can. Keep me daydream. Keep me going strong.
And the brass jumping in there.
You don't want no saving. Sad
This is very much blues, and because of the percussion attention, then okay, that makes sense that it would be called rhythm and blues. It's rhythm and blues. That's what it is. Very simply, rhythm and blues. And I enjoy this feeling of building up a piece, simply improvising over a recurring sequence, I'm going to call it today. And we know that is how the blues are constructed. You have a very predictable sequence of harmonies, and you build your entire piece off of this recurring cycle. But the layering, the build-up, and I guess the thing that impresses me with this recording is how clean it sounds. Some of the jazz and blues type stuff, well, I have to say I've listened to more jazz type improv than blues improv. So I am accustomed to a bit more of the really elaborate, complex type of stuff that appears in jazz. Jazz can be incredibly complex and even academic sometimes. But this blues is more, shall I say, down to earth, more easy to fall into, more predictable. And it's the sort of thing that you could get going on a loop. And, well, I suppose that's what he did if he's considered a one-man band. Is he playing all of these instruments? Or did he get other players in? I don't know. But the drums start, then the guitar comes in, the bass comes in. And it's not just the instruments coming in, it's the layers of each instrument. Because each time we cycle around, we hear a little bit more complexity or a slight twist of variety in a pattern. And it's laying down what I feel like saying is like, maybe it's because of the time of year. We are in the middle of springing all around us here in Tennessee. And as I say, every year, it just feels like an explosion, a joyful explosion of life and growth. And maybe that's why, but today, as I'm listening to this, I am feeling that this mix of instruments and rhythms and improvisatory style playing, building up layer after layer after layer, is a bit like a lush path of grass, greenery growing and growing and growing. And it is making this wonderfully textured, colorful, lush ground over which the voice passes. And the voice is moving around, we could say like bare feet, just reveling in the feel of traveling through the grass and feeling every little texture along the way, but at the same time, not rooted, not anchored, not held down by it. It goes above it. It travels above that instrumental mix. And that's how I'm feeling it today. Of course, every day is different. Every listen is different. But for my first listen, this is what's happening. And it's an interesting way to feel it, considering the lyrics, isn't it? Now I'm imagining somebody traveling through a lush bed of grass, and the storyline, not so much a storyline, the meditation is superstition. Very superstitious, writings on the wall, very superstitious, ladders about to fall. 13-month-old baby. It's all about the dangers of superstition, isn't it? And with all of these different layers, it's building up this very earthy kind of celebration of these things that we believe in, which we don't understand, at the same time a recognition of the dangers of it, and kind of pulling us down into the earthy human quality of these kinds of perspectives, and like we're traveling through some. It's this feeling that just comes over me as I'm listening to it. I'm going to keep listening, and we'll see how it goes from here, because it's certainly, the music is building now. In fact, I'll back up just a little bit so we can hear the build up through this section.
When you believe in things you don't understand, and you suffer. Superstition is way.
So this kind of broke the sequence of what we have going on with the build-up and the chaos that's erupting out of this. Orderly chaos, isn't it? I guess I didn't really expand on this before, but I mentioned how clean it sounds. This is a kind of improv that is building up cleanly. There's a feeling of orderliness about it, or shall I say, a feeling of things happening naturally the way they are meant to happen. I chose that because of the topic of the song, but it fits, I think. A little bit. This voice here.
Very superstitious, nothing more to say. Very superstitious, the devil's on his way. 13-month-old baby, with the look in grace. 7 years of bad luck, good things in your past. When you believe in things that you don't understand, and you suffer. Superstition ain't the way. No.
You know, as I'm listening to this, I'm reminded of another singer I listened to not too many months ago for the first time, and that is Janis Joplin. And Stevie Wonder's voice is perhaps, at least in this song, a bit smoother. There's a velvety quality to it. It's a little bit smoother and easier flowing. But at the same time, there's this depth and sincerity to it. I should say soul to it, right? Rhythm and blues, does it fall into the soul music group, perhaps? We could put it there in a way, but there's this feeling of what he's singing is coming from deep within, much like Janis Joplin's voice sounded, where what she sings seems like she's pulling it up from deep within her, and it's pouring out from some place that we can hardly imagine ever traveling to, and yet here is the voice. And even though Stevie Wonder's voice is smoother, there's still that feeling of, oh, it's coming from deep within, and it takes us kind of deep into ourselves, doesn't it?
Superstition ain't the way. No.
Oh, I liked that. So, I just got done saying his voice has a velvety quality. And then when he said, no, 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 it got a little bit more edgy. And what happened after that was the brass got a bit more edgy as well. Listen to it. Here. The brass changes. This is the joyful riff, we could say. Oh, that came to an end rather quickly, didn't it? An interesting first dipping my toes into this particular corner of the broad genre that I'm exploring, this rhythm and blues, and I can understand a bit why Stevie Wonder was the Wonder Child, based on this, because he clearly has a deep sense of balance, musical shape, texture, and his voice has a lot in it that carries through and that kind of gets deep inside of us. And so there's a lot to explore in his music, I'm sure, because if he was that prolific, I have a lot ahead of me that I can come back to. This is a fun way to get my first exposure and probably see him again sometime in the future. I'll see you all soon.